This fall, many members, primarily shop stewards, filled in resolution forms and sent them to NAPE or their locals. These were things they wanted changed. In essence, requests from the membership represent a comprehensive effort to significantly improve wages, expand all forms of leave, modernize work arrangements, enhance job security, update allowances and benefits to reflect current economic realities. All of this is public because it was distributed by email far and wide. However, what follows is a summary and not of the detailed resolutions, nor does it reflect what was actually accepted, rejected, or punted at the component convention. At the component convention, some of these requests were accepted while others were rejected or sent back to committee without discussion. You can think of it as a suggestion box for the union negotiators. Nothing was prioritized. No hills to die on were identified, and nothing related to pension or pay was discussed at all. All these resolutions need to be ranked in an online poll so that every member can contribute. From what I hear, being able to afford to live is priority number one because NAPE has negotiated 13% over a period where inflation was over 50. There were numerous requests for wage increases in various suggested amounts. To recover negative wage growth from inflation since 2011, a 38% wage increase in the first year is required. Overtime is a complex issue, especially when there's a fixed allowance in lieu of overtime, and then the employer has workers work enormous quantities of overtime resulting in unpaid work. Meal and travel allowances have always been lower than federal workers, and they are often inadequate, so workers lose money while traveling. In some cases, workers have to purchase their own expensive safety equipment and boots because the allowances are inadequate. There were 6 resolutions on wages, with a wide range of demands due to employees guessing at what is required. However, the first video in the series makes a clear case for needing 38% in the first year. This should be a hill to die on, because if it is not addressed, most members will be forced to take a second job or quit. Overtime pay was also the subject of 6 resolutions, none of which were debated. This requires a good legal team to review all the special cases, and perhaps some of these groups need their own collective agreements. One of the major problems in lumping together so many separate groups is that they have very little in common. Just like Air Canada employees that weren't paid until the door closed, there are employees with fixed dollar allowances for overtime, yet they get forced to work vastly more hours than the allowance covers, resulting in unpaid labor. The sick note leave system is insane. The same employer that insists on sick notes for short absences is the same one paying overloaded doctors to write them long after the employee recovers. So what exactly is a doctor certifying? Both public sector workers and the general public pay for this with taxes. There are various leave types that reflect an evolving society and the need to take care of family members. There were 7 resolutions on annual leave. There are large gaps between increases, currently one at 10 years and another at 25. There are also bad rules that can result in older employees unexpectedly owing large amounts to the government. There's a 2-tier sick leave system. In previous collective agreements, existing employees were protected, while future employees were screwed. Someone joining today has a prorated retirement benefit, non-indexed pension, and half the sick leave of older employees. The same rules should apply equally to all. The new categories of leave can be addressed by something more general, such as personal days. There were 16 resolutions on special types of leave. Here we have additional leave types that could be addressed by all-purpose personal leave. Flexible work arrangements existed in the past and varied by department, but it depends on the political winds blowing through Executive Council. Previous agreements had unenforceable language. For example, on an experimental basis, and without committing either party to a permanent change in the existing hours of work. Clearly, such language is not enforceable. Newfoundland Health Services, for example, encouraged remote work for some jobs and was able to eliminate unnecessary office space. There were 9 resolutions here. Employee assistance programs are not always free. The dental plan is not subsidized or cost-shared. Storm closures are not consistent across the province, and to get paid you might have to defy police orders to stay off the road. Some employees have to pay for parking garages, while others get free parking. Most working condition requests have to do with fairness. There were a dozen resolutions on security and rights. There are a lot of mundane issues to fix up, especially in the hiring process. The current system is abused by the employer with far too many cases of people getting hired or promoted without job competitions. This has been going on for many bargaining cycles and needs to be cleaned up permanently. Pension indexing is also a hill to die on. Without indexing, a defined benefit plan really isn't defined. It gets unpredictably worse every year until it approaches worthlessness. The pension indexing resolutions were not up for debate, but referred to Pension Committee. The removal of indexing happened in 2014 to help the plan with its underfunding problem. Obviously, the Pension Committee is aware of this, so referring these requests to the committee is of dubious value. There are almost a dozen resolutions in this category. Conservation officers, sheriffs, and emergency responders probably ought to have their own collective agreements. There are many more issues than the resolutions presented. Every bargaining cycle, employees ask for the same things, only to be lost in a black hole. Employees don't have any visibility in what was even asked for. How then can employees evaluate a tentative agreement if they have no idea what was fought for, especially since absolutely no attempt was made to prioritize the requests? Ideally, via engagement meetings, the union would discuss these with membership and figure out the priorities. NAPE has done nothing of the sort. Overall, this is a reasonable list of requests created by the membership, and if there were to be any demands, or for hills to die on, the most likely ones would be recover losses in pay and raise the entire wage table, cost of living adjustments for future years, and restore pension indexing, although that one needs to involve all the unions, which are unfortunately in a conflict of interest here. Consider printing out QR codes to this YouTube playlist to pass out or stick on corkboards, as well as adding comments, liking, and sharing. Thank you. Bye.